Alrighty folks, this is Lurch from Airline Gaming and welcome back to another episode of From the Depths, where Nick has given us yet another incredible toy to play with. Many people have been asking over the course of ages for anti-missile cannons, and guess what we just got? Well, we got anti-missile cannons. Let's not beat about the bush. Nick has given us this awesome little block here. It's not a replacement, but an additional local weapon controller that is called... remember right? I can't remember. Well, let's find out where it is. It's in the AI menu under local weapon controllers. The anti-missile cannon controller, the AMCC, and sort of dubbed the CIWS or CWIS for short. And this scary looking block is like a local weapon controller, but it places slightly different. If you read the description, it says it specifies 2 blocks above the turret. 1 or 2 blocks above the turret, sorry. So, if you place a normal local weapon controller, you can place them like sideways and it will auto-orientate to being up and it can control things in every direction. These can't. These have to be placed with the bottom. I'm actually on the turret here, so that's why I can't place. But you'll see that this places like that. But on the top, that's where the up direction now, that has none of the little green pins, is where you connect your turret. And you'll see this guy here is actually faced sideways by comparison. You'll see that this on the right is the direction that you connect to. There it is there. But yeah, that is the block and how it connects. It's a bit finicky and had me confused for a while. I thought you just flat out couldn't do ball turrets with it, but you can. So yeah, this is the scary ass menu, and this took quite a bit of tweaking to get something that worked for me. And this all depends entirely on how your cannon is built. Now, there are some prerequisites before you can actually use this cannon controller. Your cannon has to be firing shells that are either high explosive or flak, and they also have to have a timed fuse. So bear that in mind whenever you're using it. The cannon also needs to have a laser designator to allow the shell to detonate at the right time. They're all 3 very, very important stipulations for using this block. But it works really quite well. And yeah, the settings are... I'm really not going to go into them because, to be honest, I haven't got that far with them myself. I've got to about B or C, and the rest I haven't played with enough to really understand how it all fits together. The minimum range to fire is pretty obvious. Work that out. Maximum range to fire is I have set to 250 meters for this particular shell, and I found that keeping this quite low is much better. Having them firing for ages means that they don't have shells ready whenever the missile comes into optimal range, so you want to find that optimal range for your cannons. These take quite a bit of tweaking. Maximum fire rate's pretty obvious. It says per second there as well. Acceptable shots is the number of shells fired at a missile before you lower the priority. This is if you're firing against like 3 or 4 missiles or multiple swarms of missiles, there's like a priority system, so it's based on all of these other settings as well. Every missile is assigned a priority based on its stuff, and the cannon chooses a particular missile to shoot at, and then once it hits this acceptable number of shots, it deems it destroyed or of lower priority, and then it moves on to another target. So that's what that does. Priority loss per extra shots, a bit hazy on that. Acceptable angle to attack or to engage is an interesting one, because this one had me really stumped. The angle we need to turn to engage that we find acceptable priority will only be lost above this angle. I've set this in this case to 90 because I've been testing against sledges, and I'm going to get onto that pretty much now because the rest of this is still a bit of a mystery to me, and I will have to play about with it a lot more before I get my head around it. There may as well be tweaks to it before, you know, the end of the dev test. There's so many things happening at the minute. For goodness sake, we're talking about getting plasma guns as well, which is pretty awesome. Everyone loves plasma guns. But yeah, this is my little flacker, and we'll demonstrate it now. Like I said, I've been demonstrating with sledges because they have nice slow missiles of only a couple in a barrage. It's simple to test these out and get a cannon that works reasonably well. So you'll see that they're actually targeting the missiles now, and what's great is they'll lead before. Oh, well, we got most of them there. I have all the LAM systems on this turned off. They're hooked up to the main local weapon controller with its own missile warners. Or the main AI, sorry. And the missile warners are all over the place, so they all know where the missiles are. But you can see they're doing a pretty good job of taking out these little missiles. let's take advantage of this key, because I have bound this to my mouse. I got a Roccat tie-on, and I gotta say, it's an absolutely brilliant gaming mouse. It's got a bajillion buttons on it, and it's got like a little flappy paddle on the side that allows you to act like a shift key. It's freaking awesome. But yeah, that is our cannons working really quite well. Not one of them got through. They're not by any means 100%. I mean, these missiles are a little bit wobbly as well, but they work pretty good. I'm sure many people could do a much better job of building a cannon than me. These are very, very sort of stringently low-cost cannons. I built them to be lightweight and mobile and agile so that they can target missiles easier, and they don't even have a mantlet. That's how fast they are. So they work pretty well in that regard. They can target very well. But I think it's time to, let's build a new cannon. Because it's been a long time since I've done a speedy up cannon build for you, but let's get started and we'll do something like this is bigger brother. So we'll get rid of you. Let's set up with a beam to get us started, to give it a little bit more elevation against everything else. Little beam. And we'll start with a 2-axis turret. There. Okay, so it's not the prettiest cannon I've ever built, by any means, but it should serve us quite nicely for what we wanted. This thing is a 90mm? 88mm, yeah, that's pretty good. And it should do pretty good damage with this particular shell that we're using. Let's see, let's set it, 90mm we're set already. 2.9, 7.4 meters, 154 damage, 12 meter radius, that's really good. Right, perfect. This thing should work quite well as long as it's fairly mobile, but we do have to set up this guy, and I'm going to set it up more or less like I have the other guys set. It's the same shell at a higher gauge, so go for 30 in that. Maximum fire range I found. I tried everything from 200 meters all the way up to 1.5 kilometers for this maximum fire range, stepping it up and down to try and find something that worked really well, and 250 for this particular shell just seems to work perfectly. So yeah, it's good. Now, we should be able to manage a much higher fire rate with this cannon. We have four times the number of autoloaders. Can we go for 4 times the number? No, we probably can't. Let's go for 12 max fire rate. Acceptable shots is probably still only about 3 because it's actually a bigger shell. Priority loss per shots, I'm just going to leave these all alone except for the angle to engage. We'll set that to 90 degrees just to be on the safe side. Let us, well, screw it. Let's, oh, hello. Hey, you're still pretty fast. Yeah, that could work. As long as the missiles aren't coming from, stupid angles. Looks pretty cool. Anyway, let's test this. Should be loaded by now. Plastic. I'm going to have to take the things off these. So I'm going to do that quickly. Just to disable them so we can test the big guy on his own. Right, moment of truth. Get ourselves a little sledge and see if this one guy can take it all on. Well, he's aiming. That's a good start. What we're gonna do? Come on. Oh. That's terrible, dude. Oh, I forgot something really important. As I often do. It has no laser targeter. Dumbass. I always do this. I actually found that on the cannons I needed to set the offset time to minus 0.01. Oh my word, hello. Well, that worked. That seems to be going much better now. Right, let's see how this goes now. What are you doing? You can do much better than that. Come on. I think this guy might need a bigger range because he's got a bigger fire rate. See if we can get a more sensible salvo all at once. These things take like considerable tweaking to get right. Okay, so quite a bit of tweaking later, I have finally managed to get it to somewhat of a working state. It's still not as good as two of the smaller ones, but it is almost as effective, and it's a singular gun, although it's enormous by comparison. How did I fix it? I had to reduce the time on the laser designator, to 0.03 negative, to make it detonate. And interestingly, the F11 key was what helped me diagnose the problem, because you can see here that this is detonating way back here, and I've been able to pause the game, and this is where the missile is. So it's still even detonating a little bit further away than I would like. So that one's detonated on the one at the back. That's no good. Well, we could even possibly set it a little bit earlier again. So let's see what this does. Come on. Now that seems to be pretty close. And it's not working though. So where it considers the missile to be and where it actually is in a visual standpoint might not be quite the same thing. So let's put that back up to 0.03 because it was working, and let's actually pull the accuracy down, because that's always nice to have the absolute minimum. Although it makes them do a little bit more wobbling. Oh yeah, I also decreased the gauge of the cannon down to a 70mm, just to help with the, I don't know, stuff. The fire rate more than anything else. Because that small change of gauge doesn't make a huge difference to the damage, but it does make quite a big difference to our consistent fire rate. And this thing's able to do a much better job now of keeping track of those missiles and defending against them. So yeah, that is another basic CWIS turret that we built for ourselves. And whenever these come to the stable branch, I'm sure they will be nice and refined and perfected so that everyone can play with them and enjoy with them, and probably have your head melted while trying to set them up. Because this is still a bloody scary menu. So yeah, those are CWIS turrets, or anti-missile cannons. I do hope you enjoyed the episode. Any likes, subs or comments are really, really awesome. I love hearing from you guys, and I read every single comment. As always, take it handy, and have a bloody good day.